Good afternoon, everybody. I'm TerryTopCat, and I'm with the wonderful Junior Giscombe. How you doing, sir?
I'm very well, man. Very, very well.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for your time. And we had a little chat before with the wonderful Mark Anthony as well, and you're talking about the music industry. So I want to particularly talk about your career, and you said your family were from Jamaica.
That's correct. My mum's from Kingston, and my father's from St Mary's.
So when you were growing up, was there music in your house?
Oh Christ, yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, it was mainly like gospel, R&B, and pop.
What kind of pop?
Beatles, Yardbirds, Stones. My band at the time was the Kinks. Loved them. So I'm talking about early 60s, right, where we didn't have any black music on radio in this country. Right? Everything pretty much on Radio 1 was coming from a white perspective, so it was those bands that were out there. They were the ones that you saw on Top of the Pops or any of those music channels that were happening. Very rare did you see black artists until, I think it was Dusty Springfield, to be quite honest. Dusty Springfield had a TV program on, and she used to bring over the Temps, she'd bring over Smokey Robinson, and that's where I got the chance to see those acts.
The Motown acts.
The Motown acts.
Right.
As a young kid. And then when I got into my early teens, I'm lying here, go back a bit. My sister went to America to live. And
what part of America, though?
She was in Seattle.
Okay.
And Washington State. And she went there to live, but what she would do, she would send us back all of these records from America. So I first heard James Brown in the early 60s with a song called Money Won't Change You. I've still got it on the King label, for 45. And that was my first introduction to him. So I was about 10.
We'll come on to him later, because yes.
Incredible that. But I was about 10 when I got that record. And then she sent over the Sam Cooke. She used to send him over different tracks, and she sent over the album with A Change Is Gonna Come on it. And again, 10 registered, that was it. My dad was a jazzer, and so a lot of jazz music, right, from you know, I could sing all of that. Just from, it was like registering all the time. And the pop side of things now, we were here from the radio, and because it was all of that kind of stuff that you would be hearing, Beatles and whatever else, I'm learning construction. I'm listening to how things have been constructed, not fully understanding yet, but I had a good idea. You have your intro, your verse, your chorus, then you might come out 4 bar, 8 bar, and then you go to your next verse, and then you go to your next chorus, come out your chorus middle 8, come out middle 8, you might go music, so all this time I'm learning. But I then get to the stylistics in the early 70s.
Oh, now we're talking.
And
what a voice, huh? Oh my gosh.
And I did a tour with him year before last.
Oh, wow.
Which was fantastic.
The original singer.
Russell, yeah.
Oh my, is his voice still amazing?
Still just as bad. Still amazingly good.
Wow.
Amazingly good. And they came into the whole thing now. Early 70s. Stop, look, listen to your heart, hear what I'm saying. That kind of stuff. Blue Magic started to come into focus. Now before all of this too, my older brothers, right, they had a band. Okay. And we had a band in the house, and a couple of bands actually. But their band, they were called the Four Crowns. And they got signed to Palmer Records. And they made an album, so I must have been, when that was happening, about 11, 12, because they would play down in Brixton, and they did a gig where they were opening for Georgie Fame. And I'd never seen Georgie Fame before, and that was amazing, being a kid again, and being able to watch this. So my brothers are into like the Moonglows and that kind of stuff, early doo-wop and all that kind of stuff. So it was all eclectic stuff in terms of like, my brothers was into that side and doing a band. There was a band, they had some friends at the time, Roy Ellis, a guy called Roy Ellis, who did Skinhead Moonstomp. Do you remember that song? Back in the day, old, like, ska.
Okay, I love
music.
Okay, I have to look that up.
Well, they did another song called A Bakerloo Line. Well, in the house that we had at the time, the upstairs part was an open area. Bit bigger than this.
So we're talking South
London.
South London, right?
Bigger than where we are now, right? And they used to come and rehearse there, upstairs. So again,
you're exposed to live music.
I'm exposed to live musicians.
Right.
And all of this is happening between the time of, let's say, between 8 and 14. Right? So I'm getting all of this different music in the one place. And the reggae side of things was people in Jamaica would send over reggae records and stuff like this. So we'd get the chance to hear a lot of reggae music.
And did you ever get a chance to see the great Bob Marley at all?
My brothers used to live in the same yard as him back in Jamaica, so my brothers knew him.
Wow.
And when he came over here and was rehearsing Notting Hill Gate, my brothers would take me down there.
Really? You saw him rehearse?
Yeah. And then after all of that, when he became big, and they played Hammersmith Odeon, right, with the Rastaman Vibration album. And I'd never ever been to a gig at that time where the people outside broke down the doors to get in, and you were at the I was about 5 rows from the front, and all of those people that came in, you just felt this whole movement of people just moving forward. You know, people. It was just an incredible.
Was it a very mixed
night.
audience?
Yeah.
Well? Okay.
And that was the other thing that was really interesting for me, was the fact that, like, as I got into the music industry, right, I didn't see racism, because Bob came here and it wasn't one of those, it's 90% white and 10% black. It would have been 60% or 70% black, 30% white. But this whole union that was being built up, right, through the music and through we all shared what he was saying in terms of his lyrical content, right? I don't care where you were in the world, you could understand it. And for lots of people, we were living through it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Tenement yard stuff, we were living through it. It might be called a tenement yard, but we all know what he meant, right? For our own usage of the word. But yeah, I did all of that and saw that during that period of time. And it's funny, isn't it? During all of that time, it never really pushed me to want to get into music. I just enjoyed music because it was coming in thick and fast in the yard, and I'd go out. I'm 12 and I'm going out to various clubs, the Venue down in Victoria and stuff like this. I'd go out and all of these Chris Hill things, I'd go and have a look, right? At that time, I'm like 14, me and a guy called Dudley Thomas, we were playing sound system. Coxsone sound system, right, was the #1 sound system, and it used to play up at Carnaby Street in a place called the Roaring Twenties, which went on to be called Colombo's. And Dudley and I would be able to go. Dudley's sister was going out with Lloydie Coxsone at the time, so we had a chance to play the set, right? Yeah, to play the set for 1 hour. Festus gave us 1 hour, right down at the 20s, and it was always very early, from about 11 to 12, because then that's when the people started to come. But yet again, the roots coming from being involved with reggae music as well, and being able to play at the same time, understanding that these sounds only played the best R&B, right? So you weren't going to hear some flabby Chris Hill, right? And it's true, some flabby old Chris Hill bullshit, right? That people turn around, Chris Hill's playing it, or Robbie Benson's playing it, it must be good. No, sound system play it, you know it's good, right? Because they only played the best. You know, the fodder, you could have it, but the best tracks, they played it. During that time, they had sound systems like Neville the Enchanter used to play up in the West End. You had Duke Reed, another big sound that used to play at a club called the Flamingos. And then these sound systems would go out after playing at these places and do gigs at night in derelict houses and stuff. And it would be ram, not just packed, ram. People out on the street. This is winter, coats on and everything. Wow. Yeah, it was, during that period of time, I would say, was one of the best times for me concerning music, growing up, Bally Eye, which was another club in South London. A guy called Paul and Dave used to play up there, two guys. Dave unfortunately passed just before Christmas. But these guys were important to the music, to me wanting and getting that vibe of...
So when did you first pick up the microphone? So you would go and see all these artists and go to concerts and go to the sound system. Because I believe you started, so obviously I think he's quite important in the terms of music of people of colour, especially links. So we're talking about David Grant. So you were like, and they got on top of the pops, and I remember just seeing them on top of the pops, and I believe you sang backing vocals for them.
Yeah.
So when did you start picking up the mic? Yes.
When I started picking up the mic, I was no, that would have been later on, wouldn't I? So no, I would say when I first started there was a youth centre. That's why I'm big on youth centres and stuff. There was a youth centre we used to go to around the corner called the Contact Centre. As soon as I say this, all of them guys who know me will turn around and say, Christ, Junior, you remember the Contact Centre? Right. But the Contact Centre and the thing about Contact Centre was it's just down the road from the police station, which is just up the top of the road. But we used to go to the Contact Centre and they had a stage. And I used to go up there and just mess around and start singing and sing all the popular songs. And then I would get on the piano and play on the piano a bit, and everybody would be like, mate, I don't know, you know music, blah, blah, blah. But that was the very first time, so that would have been about, who would I put that down to? I put that down to the days of La Belle, right? When La Belle started to really become huge, because we used to play a lot of that in the Contact Centre as well. Football machines, could play football. For kids, it was fantastic. That's why as I said earlier, that's why I'm down on it. I think that would have been around about 12, 13 when I first picked up the mic. I think when I started to have the guts then to go on a stage, would have been around about 16, 17 in front of people. We used to do talent contests and go to different pubs up and down London. Right.
But that shapes you as an artist as well, because when people are not into it, this is way before reality TV, by the way, everyone.
way before.
Opportunity knocks.
That's around that time.
Exactly. But that does shape you as an artist as well, and you see the live reaction from the people you're singing to, and it's small as well. So rather than so you get your experience doing that.
I remember playing gigs with the band, and the band was called Atlantis. And we did Roehampton, I think it was Roehampton University, and there was two people in the audience. One was completely pissed, and the other one just thought that we were a complete joke, right? But stayed. The one who was pissed, obviously, you get off the stage, and we did a 45-minute set of songs that I had written. At that time, I was totally against doing covers, because I just felt from my voice, I wouldn't be able to interpret these songs in a way whereby people would say, wow, I wasn't professional enough at that point, and I didn't know enough. So I wanted to write my own songs, right, using structures from the early days of
Motown, jazz and all
jazz.
Of yeah. So again,
using all of that and kind of like putting it into one pot. At that particular time, everybody was into jazz funk. And Junior didn't want to make jazz funk. Junior wanted to make rock funk, right? So my band was a 3-piece band, real rock and roll, right? Hardcore rock and roll, to be quite honest, but with sweet little vocals in there. And it used to work. We'd go up and down the country, and I remember playing a gig in Birmingham, and the place was a reggae gig, right? But we're playing soul, but with a lead guitarist who's running for maybe 2-3 minutes on this thing. I'll never forget it. The place was ram and not one person moved, not one person clapped. At the actual end of the gig, you've got to go through the audience to get to the back to the changing room. And we come off stage, and black people being black people, you come off and a man touch you and he's, nice. You walk a bit more, and the next man, on the bud, you know. And smoking.
Cool.
And it's, you have God's in, I'm afraid, you have God's. Like that. But we've come in there playing hardcore rock. We never came in there playing no reggae at all. And that was the thing that really started me.
Okay.
That gig in Birmingham really started me, because I realised that, like, it would be easier, Junior, if you turned around, right, and you just made or you wrote, right, straight up and down jazz funk things, right? It would have worked easier to that audience too.
Sure.
Rock funk, nah, that wasn't gonna work. But I realised that yes, it would, because they're just like me. They like music.
Absolutely.
It wasn't about a particular type of music. It was whether or not their ears said, yeah, I can feel this, I can hear this. And it was that. It was then I wanted to play in front of audiences just like them, right? So that then you would get them going and you'd keep them going, and they're listening to a music form that they wouldn't listen to normally, but it's like, I like this. And that was the drive. I wanted to continue to write stuff within, if you like, the catalyst was Mummy used to say. Because Mummy used to say it wasn't a straight up and down R&B record.
We'll come to that, but I want to speak about links again. So how did you meet David Grant?